Welcome in. Sorry, we're a little delayed here. Hope everything is going well. Yeah, we have a really exciting session today. This one is about attribution, which is top of mind for everyone who, is trying to either do AI search and AEO on their own, or trying to get internal buy-in on something that this is something that the company needs to be doing. And there's no way that we're going to convince our leaders or our co-founders or whoever it is that this is an effective channel if we're not able to prove ROI. And so today we're really going to be talking about how we can turn AI search into a reliable revenue driving pipeline channel. And over the next half hour, the idea is that you will be able to leave with a map of where your buyers are asking on AI and the three plays that you can use to turn those answers into actual booked calls. And if you run a marketing or B2B company and you've never actually checked whether ChatGPT knows who you are, this is the session for you and helps you turn that ambiguity into a reliable pipeline. So let's dive into things. For those who have never joined one of my sessions before, I like to be very interactive. I like when people, leave comments. I'll be asking questions throughout, and so please respond in the chat. We've got Charles, who's our awesome moderator, who is going to be, fielding those questions and making sure that I get them so I can answer them in real time. And we also will be doing a live breakdown today. And so if you are brave enough and you want to share the company that you work at in the chat, we can actually do a live audit. I will show you guys, where you can make improvements to rank higher on AI search. Looking for any volunteers. You don't have to decide right now, but if you are brave enough, feel free to drop it in the chat. So the Nice. We got a real estate firm. That's always fun. Okay, so the first thing I want to go through is just kind of talk high level. It's shocking to me the amount of people who still haven't wrapped their head around the fact that the buyer behavior has shifted, and prospects, people are spending more time and defaulting to AI as their main point of, or their first point of research. And so, what this means, and let me tell you a story. So, I was talking to a founder of it was actually a real estate firm the other day. And I told him, I was like, what are you doing about AI search? And he pulled up a screenshot of Google and showing that when you type in his brand name, he's ranking number one on Google. And, I had to educate him a little bit. I was like, look, that's great. However, the buyer behavior has shifted and we're talking about AI. When I move into a new market, or if I'm moving and I'm looking for a home or an apartment there, I'm going to go in and I'm going to type in, best realtors in Boston, Massachusetts. And whatever ChatGPT or Claude tells me, um, is probably where I'm gonna make, my primary decision. Maybe they'll give me 3 and I'll call all 3 and just see who I vibe with. But the idea here is that you need to be on those short lists to even be considered. And so while, a lot of companies have spent time before, trying to rank on Google, and that was successful, and there's still value there. You have to understand that people are spending less time in research. People are fatigued by the amount of ads and the abundance of information when you just go to Google. And where, AI is really propelling right now is the fact that I can just type in exactly what I want and I don't have to think, and it gives me 3 recommendations. But what that means for business owners is it is imperative that you show up in those 3, otherwise you're just going to be left behind. And don't get me wrong, maybe you guys have started to realize this, and maybe you go to your own ChatGPT or your own Claude and you search, and maybe you do see your own name, but don't be fooled, because remember, your AI has a memory. It knows who you are. And so it actually has so much context about you, it's going to put your name higher. And so what we need to do is we need to use a third party tool that tells us, without any, prior information or prior data, where we're actually ranking today. And only then, and once we've done that, can we actually start to make a plan on how to solve it. For those of you who don't know me, we are Catalyst. We're a go to market content agency, which just is a fancy way of saying that we help B2B businesses grow in different AI native ways. This session today, we're talking about AI search. We've worked with 150 different founders over the last 3 years, and we have ranged from tiny startups to some of the largest, fastest growing companies that are multi-billion dollars in valuation. And so what I've done and what I do in these sessions is I distill the information and the lessons that we've learned from helping all of these companies. And I try to make really actionable playbooks that you guys can follow on your own to be able to help your own business grow. Now, what we're going to cover today, and I always forget to make this slide bigger, is we're going to talk about AI being an actual sales channel. Talking about how the importance is to actually treat it like one. Do a audit and actually see where answers are coming from. Then we're going to talk about the 3 plays that you need to do to actually turn this from a ambiguous channel that you don't know a lot about into a channel that you can actually own and dominate and measure the pipeline off of. And then I'll give you some actionable next steps that you can deploy, even starting next week. As always in our sessions, we give you all the workshop and resource files that we talk about today. And we always give away, some free bonus material at the end. And yeah, so let's dive into it. So, as I was saying before in the story I was telling initially, your buyer's answer is already a distribution channel, and you maybe own a share of it already. And so what I mean here is your buyers are already going and using AI to search and do research before they make a purchasing decision. Who is showing up in that list is, whether they know it or not, on their short list of making a buying decision, because that's the ones that they're going to go and remember when they are ready to make a purchase. And so we need to make sure that you're owning a piece of it. And AI search pays back like SEO. Once you run it as a channel, it can actually compound and be much stronger as a channel than SEO ever was. And so we think about how SEO became a channel. It was not only the day Google launched it, but it was the day that teams actually started to measure and worked on it on purpose, right? Google existed for a long time before the idea of SEO existed. But when we realized that this is how individuals were actually doing their research, they're going to Google to search to make purchasing decisions. We then needed to counteract and build up SEO as a motion. And AI search is at that exact moment right now. And how cool is it that you are early to this and you're able to actually get ahead of it before? But the issue is most teams, most people who are trying to think of AEO are treating it just like SEO. And the column on the left, describes that specifically. People are going and just asking if the model knows who they are. They get a yes or no, and they move on. That is a false positive, because what we're doing is we're, again, using our own context and using the information the LLM has about us to usually just regurgitate something back to us. As we know, AI is very agreeable. And so the column on the right is how we think about it as a channel. We want to show up where buyers are asking. We want to track the share of the answers, right? How many times are we getting cited in those answers? And then how many book calls are we actually getting? And how is it compounding the way that SEO traffic did? The analogy here is that a mirror tells you how you look once, which is the SEO route. And if we think about it truly as a channel, it brings you customers every week. The same glass, but completely different jobs. So if this is a channel, the first question is where are the answers coming from? Earned mentions are driving roughly 10 times the AI presence of your own pages. So that means other websites talking about our industry are 10xing the traffic to my website than my own website. If you've worked in SEO before or you understand, search intent, this is shocking because everything we've been doing for the last decade has been talking about how do we get our website to show up on Google. And now we actually want to work on getting our name mentioned in these other websites. And the part that surprises most teams about this is answers are getting built off of our own website. They are ranked by how much they feed the answer. Best of listicles perform by far the most, then review sites like G2, then communities like Reddit, then earned press. Keyword earned press, not paid press. You can't just do pay to play. And ultimately, your homepage is last. And so, what we see puts earned mentions at roughly 10x the AI presence of your own page. The model trusts what other people are saying about you far more than what you say about yourself. And this is how we get into a concept of entity authority. In SEO, we had domain ranking, which said, how credible is this website? And now we have entity authority that is saying, how smart is this entity as a whole? And it's essentially a referral. If 4 friends tell you to go try a restaurant, you go. The restaurant tells you it's great, you kind of shrug it off. How many best cup of coffee or best slice of pizza exist in New York City, right? And so AI allows this kind of opportunity for peer-to-peer review. And I think there's a much stronger case and often authentic way to kind of get these recommendations. So we are going to jump into a live demo here. Let me just make sure that so what we're going to do is we're going to run this live. We had some awesome volunteers jump in. If you maybe are a little shy, you can run this audit yourself, scan the QR code and put in your details. You can come in here and we're just going to say webinar test. Let's see. I think we got Ratowski Real Estate. Yeah, let me see. What's the difference here? No, I don't think that doesn't look very live yet. Yeah, we won't be able to pull much from it because let me just see what your site actually looks like. Oh, um, I mean, you're probably going to get some killer ranking because you're. Yeah, let's do it. Come on. Revenue. I'm just going to put a number. It doesn't matter that much, to be honest, because it's trying to find incumbents, right? People who are similar than you. And so what it does is it goes through, and what we're doing is we're actually generating personas of people who are potentially your buyers. So right now is probably high net worth income individuals who live in these markets that you serve. And then it's spinning up new instances with all of these AIs and actually searching to build an aggregate data set. Going through, looking at buying signals, also looking at what's on your website. We kind of think about AEO in 3 components. We think about technical, we think about on-site, and we think about off-site. And so here we have it, and I'm actually just going to put in. Okay, cool. So you're actually ranking pretty high. I'm going to assume, yeah, we can send it. We'll send it to you, of course. I'm going to assume that this has a This is being inflated a little bit because of the association with Compass. Compass obviously has a large presence and already has a lot of entity authority built into it. But essentially, we break things down into three sources. Everything leads up to how much you're recommended, right? So you're recommended 56 out of 100 times. And we break that down by, are you credible, right? Are third party authority signals referencing you? Is your website readable? Can AI actually crawl and understand what you do? Is it consistent with other sources? And can it read the information that you're providing? And then is it substantive, right? Are you providing original quotable material that AI can recite? Most of the time, AI gives you an answer. It's not crediting anyone because it's usually very basic, general information it's already been trained on. And so, where you actually get cited is if you're providing something new, something that it doesn't already have a record and a memory for. Here we can look at how you're showing up on different AI engines. Each one works a little bit different and prioritizes different types of information. ChatGPT loves Wikipedia and YouTube. Claude really likes Reddit. Gemini really likes YouTube as well as Google AIO. That's just Google AI overview. And so each one kind of has their own quirks, and you have to, build things specifically for it. So then we come here and we can actually see who is ranking higher than you. Um, you know, a little bit of a room to go, but you can see the actually uh, search queries that we're testing, right? Best rated real estate agents for home selling Newport Beach area, best realtor for selling home coastal home Huntington Beach 2025, best real estate agent for um, Newport Beach, California, best real estate team with concierge services, coastal California. And so you can see it's come up and it's generated all of these search queries of what potential buyers might be searching. You can see they differ in different regions, Huntington Beach versus Newport Beach. They're specific. Even Compass affiliated real estate agents versus independent realtor coastal markets, right? And so essentially what it's trying to do, and I think there's a little bit of a um, misinformation here as well, because we're seeing Compass showing up in this, which is a good thing because you're obviously part of Compass and you're showing up in more results, but they're not necessarily specific to you. And so I think that would probably be one of the things that I'd recommend you do is figuring out a content strategy that helps you differentiate in your own content on your website to get it driving traffic to you versus just Compass specifically. Again, we can have some more information here. It's looking at what people are looking at from Compass versus Realtor, Zillow, Keller Williams, things like that. And then also, your full kind of query demand versus query coverage. This essentially means what's the ratio of people actually searching this, and then are you showing up in those? Um, the largest issue right now is your own content that you're producing. So without even being on your website, I can tell you you probably don't have a blog that is consistently publishing the content that it needs to. I think real estate is a wildly and realtors are a wildly underutilized content stream right now because there is so much data and so much way to create really unique insights for your market based off of the data that's available to you. And if I were to give you a free, content strategy session right now, I would tell you put out pieces of content about how markets are moving, how use real data because data is one thing that AI cannot generate. It is not trained on it. And so if you have a proprietary source of data that only you have access to, which you do, use that to fuel your content strategy to differentiate and get ranked above everyone else. Um, the you have a really good benefit of being cited offsite because I assume Compass promotes and offers some marketing support for you. But the three key actions are expand to adjacent buyer intent queries, add FAQ to your website, What are the things that buyers or potential buyers always ask you when you're giving tours, and have those answered on your question. Those are the same things they're going to be searching on ChatGPT or Claude beforehand. And then, I think posting weekly on LinkedIn would be a great thing. And LinkedIn is quickly becoming a channel, a number one cited channel for AI search. So you can see this gives us a really full comprehensive overview of what we need to focus on. Do we need to focus on getting cited elsewhere? Do we need to focus on our own content? Or do we just not have the foundation set up at all on our own website? And that's the technical. And so running this audit gives us a baseline of what we can actually do. You can come down here and actually download a PDF report to share with someone. Or if you're AI savvy, you can download a markdown file that you can load into your own AI instance and start working back and forth on things that you need to actually do. But jumping back into what this means. And so we first wanted to understand where we're actually showing up, what our buyers are asking. And those search queries that we went through is exactly what we mean here, right? What are people searching and who is earning that mention? Who is earning that citation? And so the way to win those answers is you have to earn it off of your own site and count the pipeline of returns. So the first play, and these are the 3 plays that compound into making this a channel. Play 1 is knowing the questions that your buyers are actually asking, not just keywords. So before on SEO, we would track keywords. When you go to Google, you use far fewer words to search. With ChatGPT or Claude, they're using significantly 4 or 5x the amount of words in their search query because they're more specific. They're more tailored to their specific pain point. And so we're no longer tracking keywords, we're tracking search queries. And those actual questions they're using before you get shortlisted. You want to write down 10. The second play is getting named where the engine looks first. So the AI ChatGPT is looking first to listicles and review websites, then community threads. And so one mention on the right best of list can put you in the answers within just a couple of weeks. The time to value is insanely fast with AI search. The next third is measure it as pipeline. Track your share of voice over those answers and the demos that follow in the same way that you report any other channel. And that's what keeps this funded past just the novelty of showing up, is if you can actually track that pipeline growth from the channel. Now, there is something a little deceiving about AI and AI search in particular, is because you don't necessarily only see your referred by AI. If you go into Google Analytics, you can see like referred by traffic source. You won't only see, and you actually mostly won't see referred by ChatGPT or Claude showing up there. The current user behavior, and this might shift, is that someone will do a search in their LLM of choice, get a result, and go to the website directly. And so or type it into Google. And so what we actually see is a lift in direct traffic as well as Google traffic. And so you need to be looking at all of your channels holistically, because you'll see AI being the first touch and then direct or Google being the last touch for attribution. The best way and the cleanest way to track this is by having your sales reps actually just ask on first or discovery call where they heard about you. And then second, if you have an intake form, ask them where they heard about you on the intake form. This is the cleanest way to track attribution today. Now, if you're not ready to invest in an actual tool, the audit that we just went through is completely free. But you can use just some simple prompts to get a baseline of understanding what people are actually searching in your category. So, for the example, is I'm a buyer evaluating purchasing a home in Newport Beach, California. List the 10 questions I would ask before I pick a vendor. Then answer the top three and show which sources you used for each. This is a quick little hack that you can use to try to understand and better see, what buyers are actually searching. You can use this to find your offsite gaps as well as measure your share of voice. Now, the nice thing is if we, build this loop effectively, this channel can compound every time you run it. And so you want to turn those prompts into a monthly loop. Ask the search engines, target the offsite page that decide the answer, and then earn a mention there. Measure the lift in a few weeks and repeat the process. On our audit tool, we actually give you the top 10 offsite mentions where that are driving the most amount of traffic for that query. And so you can actually just reach out to the author of those and ask them to mention you if you want to do nothing else. It's kind of the bare minimum. Um, then, oh, so then you start to measure it, right? And so the process is so simple, and we actually have a really great message from one of the participants is that this is a great way for an agent, an AI agent, not real estate agent, to run these prompts on a scheduled basis. And so what you could do is you could go into a Claude Code instance and say, hey, this is the process I want to run every Monday morning or every 2 weeks on Monday. And it will give you a live tracker of how this is evolving over time. Great call out there. And again, if you want to run this for yourself, you can click the link below, um, run it free. And then I'll do a free, breakdown with you guys if you're unsure about how to understand it and actually read through it. Now, let me tell you what happens if you do this, right? Some of this just sounds like more work and totally understand there. But when you're building a new channel, especially when a channel is so young and in its infant days, um, there's two things. A, it becomes a little bit harder to track. And I think where a lot of people get this wrong is they wait for kind of the dust to settle to then invest. But you have to kind of be, you miss your opportunity. You're already a little bit too late to that. What is so valuable right now is the fact that you can beat a company or a competitor that's outranked you on Google for decades on AI. We've done this with a few of our clients where the large incumbent who had been kind of dominating the first spot on Google for years, with just a few months of work, have been able to rank higher on LLM search. And so there definitely is a component of being early to this. I always talk about, I wish I got more into Instagram in 2011 and 2012. People say that about TikTok, during 2020 or 2019. And I feel this way similarly about AI as a channel or AI search as a channel. You're definitely in the early phase. And so it's a good time to start investing in it now because it will only get more saturated and more competitive over the time. One of our clients, Rise, we started working with them about a year ago, was invisible on AI answers, and the amount of payroll companies that were outranking them, they weren't even showing in the top 5 list. I don't even think they were ranking in the top 30. And we did the same exact session with them. We mapped the exact questions that their buyers were asking. We ran it through our audit. We found mentions what third party offsite resources we needed to get them referenced in. We conducted and actually wrote those pieces for the offsite mentions. We built them up a content system that ran continuously. So they were posting every day real blog posts that answered their buyer queries. And we just tracked the share of the voice and answers and then reported pipeline over it month over month. Um, they have a accumulated over 8,000 AI sessions in there's a last 90-day mark there that's missing. So they're continuously getting 9,000 new sessions a month to their website. And over the year we've worked with them, they've generated 8 million in pipeline from AI search alone. The other thing about this is it becomes a global play. So one of the things we wanted to track was how many, they are a global payroll provider. And so we wanted to see which countries were actually um, using their service and targeting specific different countries around the world. And we were able to target over 100 different countries to have them rank number one as a payroll provider. And so, what I recommend for you guys to do is take this information and run this category question for yourself. Write down who got named in the sources, find the best of lists that decided it, check if you're on it, pitch them a one line update of whoever owns it, and add a share of answer row to your report. And this is the whole channel started before you spend a single dollar. All of this is completely free for you to do today. Again, you can scan the QR code, run the audit for yourself here. And again, I'm always willing to jump on and walk through how this works for you specifically. Thank you guys for joining today. We'll open up the floor to Q&A. Looks like we have a few questions here that I'll run through. But yeah, feel free to drop anything in, or if you have a specific question, I'm happy to answer. Is it better to create all the content for your website now, like hundreds of pages answering these questions, or just launch and slowly build up pages and blogs over time? How often should you post? 3 blogs a day, 1 blog per day, start off slow and build it, etc. Can you get penalized by putting out too much content? This is a great question and something that we hear a lot. Essentially, the question is, what's the posting cadence? Do I just want to produce a lot of content and publish it all at once, or do I want to slow roll it over a period of time? I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, the component that is implied here is that we're using AI. And so I want to talk about both of those. LLMs, we have no data to show that they have any issue with the volume of content that you're posting. But we have to remember that Google still exists and is still an effective channel. Google is sensitive to how much content you're putting out in a single point. And so our recommendation is usually start with 1 blog post a day. This is kind of a good baseline of the intersection of quantity and quality. And it doesn't spook the Google algorithm, which if you have spent up years building SEO as a channel, you definitely don't want to negatively impact that. And when it comes to using AI for content production, we are very much pro. However, you still need to be remembering that AI and LLMs want net new information. And so it needs to offer a perspective from a subject matter expert. It needs to be written from a perspective that is different than just a blanket AI generic response. If AI can give the response itself, it will. So what you need to do is be, thinking about how I can produce something that new. This is why data, original research reports, your perspective, your expertise of the market, your opinion will help you rank higher. So if you are going to use AI for your content production, A, make sure that it doesn't just blatantly read like AI and sound very sloppy. And B, make sure that you're taking it that extra mile to make sure you're injecting something net new in it. Then is there a good tool that you use to see what questions ideal clients are asking? Um, None of the tools that I have used myself actually tell you what those questions are. They give you some suggestions, but they actually rely on you to input the questions or the queries you want to track. As we were putting together this audit for uh, our clients, that's why we made these suggestions of 50 queries. So you can actually download all 50 of these. These are our recommendations of what your AI buyers are probably searching. And then to actually track and monitor it over time, we highly recommend airops.com. They are our preferred partner. If you talk to them, I think they're reasonably priced compared to other tools out there. Their support team is insanely helpful. They have forward deployed engineers that can actually help you get set up. we are a partner, fully transparent. But if you talk to them and say that I referenced you, you will get a discount. So, that's definitely our recommendation for ongoing tracking and measurement. Vicky, new founder and new website. Can you give top three AAO search must to start? Thanks. Also, would love to see a future session about agent for blogs. Cool. I think that's a great idea. Charles, let's do an agent session for blog creation. And so the top three must-haves for a brand new website. Well, kind of set me up for a perfect response here because we always recommend the same three things for every single client that we work with. So you need to have technical, and that doesn't sound as scary as it is, but you need to have like an infrastructure or a blog to actually be publishing your own content. You want to have a website that AI and LLMs can actually read and understand. This is where people talk about like schema and markup and LLMs.txt files. Essentially, all of this is fancy ways of saying is like when a bot or AI crawler gets to your website, can it actually understand what your website's about and who you are? So technical is the absolute foundation for any kind of motion you're running, especially where over the last few years, JavaScript heavy websites have become really popular. And that is actually what AI hates because it can't read the JavaScript. And so we're seeing a lot of people go back to more of these, boring static websites because AI can't crawl their website. The second thing I'd recommend is making sure that you are consistent in prioritizing your on site content. All this means is continuously publishing original, well produced blogs that are focused on bottom of the funnel content and answer your specific buyer queries. Back to these, have a blog that answers what the best rated real estate agent for home selling Newport Beach area is. Um, so making sure that we're directly answering these, and AI actually has a opportunity to even consider you in its results. The third is offsite. And so for offsite, this is where other brands are referencing you. And this is the largest way to build credibility quickly. And so my recommendation, especially if you're a new website and you don't have a lot of domain authority on your own, go build relationships with them, or use a service like Catalyst where we have relationships already, and we can help you get cited much quicker. So those are, whether you have a new website or you have a existing long-standing website, my recommendation is the same across the board. And I think that is again the really cool opportunity with AI is that there's an opportunity for the little guy to win. Awesome. Any more questions today? Citations for directories and using the same bio across the board. Yes, this is a great question. So the question is, what about citations and directories? And then the second question is about using the same bio across the board. I'm going to answer the second one first. So consistency in messaging and having parity across all your social, your website, all of your own channels is super important for AI. Because if you say you are a real estate broker on one website and the other one it says you're a real estate agent, and then maybe on another one it just says you're like a guy who likes talking about homes and like maybe property flipping, I don't know. AI doesn't know which is the correct source, and it just says this person is kind of scattered, they must not be really good at one thing. And so it doesn't know how to recommend you. Does it recommend you when someone's asking for brokers? Does it recommend you when someone's asking for home flippers? It doesn't know. And so having consistent bio and messaging across all of your own channels becomes increasingly more important, as well as third party mentions. So a lot of the issues that we see with our clients is that a third party website, a directory, or a third party citation is mentioning them, but the issue is they're misrepresenting them. And it's really hard to kind of build that entity authority and maintain that editorial control. With all of the partners that we work with, we maintain editorial control so we can make sure that you are consistently represented the same way across all of the channels. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. Please, we do these sessions twice a week. Um, one is usually a live build. One is more kind of walking through some things high level. We always try to ground them in real questions that you guys have. We had a question earlier about doing one on, a blog AI agent, writing agent. That will probably be one of our upcoming sessions now. And so, love to hear your feedback. Would love to see what you guys are trying to figure out and help you guys directly. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. My DMs are always open and I respond to everyone who messages me. And yeah, excited to see you guys in future sessions. Thank you again so much.